Moving to Thailand is exciting, let's be honest. But if you're planning on moving here or even just dreaming about it, then there's a lot of things that you need to consider to make the transition happen smoothly. So in this video, I'm going to run you through a full checklist of all the things that you need to make sure that you're doing to prepare for the big move. And you'd be surprised when we get to number 5 on the list at how many people overlook this one and the pain that it could cause you. So pay attention, because if you don't go into this big move with a proper plan, then you could be in for a whole world of hurt. My name's Chris Parker, and this channel's here to help you relocate to Thailand. It's a pretty new channel, and I gotta say, I'm quite surprised at the response so far. I didn't think it would get this many views, but apparently there's a lot of you out there who are considering moving to Thailand, and that's music to my ears. I love to hear it. So I'm going to try and help you here. Channel name's RW4U. Subscribe if you're not already. And every Sunday, I put out a new video where I just discuss some key elements of making the move to Thailand. So in this video, I'm going to run you through 6 things that you absolutely must have on your checklist. And then I'm going to talk about the 3 most common mistakes that people make as they prepare to make the big move to Thailand. And the second mistake is definitely one that you got to know about. So stick around for that. Now let's get into this list. So the first thing on the list is your visa. So the world of Thailand visas can be a little tricky to navigate, but once you figure it out, it becomes just more a pain in the ass than tricky. But if you've never gone through it before, then this is something that you're going to want to leave yourself ample time to deal with. And I'd say start by asking yourself a question. What are you coming here for? Are you coming here to work? Are you coming here to retire? Or are you coming here for something else? There's a ton of different visa options over here. You got the retirement visa. That's what my wife's on. You have business visas with work permits. That's what I'm on. Our daughter came over here on an education visa because she was a high school student. You can get an education visa just by signing up to a Thai language school that has an affiliation, an accreditation, is that how you say it, with the Thai government to provide you with an ED visa. There's volunteer visas. If you got bags of money, you got the elite visa. You might qualify for a LTR visa, long-term resident visa. There's smart visas for certain types of digital nomads and business creators. There's all kinds of visas. Just make sure that you leave yourself a lot of time. That's why I put it as number 1 on your checklist. And I'll just leave this section with a pro tip for you. When you apply for your visa, my recommendation is no matter which one you apply for, make sure that you understand and know how to get the multiple re-entry permit option. I made this mistake. So when I moved here 5 years ago, our daughter came on an education visa, and my wife got, at the time, she wasn't 50 yet. So you need to be 50 to get a retirement visa. So we're like, what visa can she get? Well, there's something called a guardian visa for one of the parents that has a child in school on an education visa. So my wife and daughter got hooked up. They got that visa. We took care of all of this from the Thai embassy in Canada, Toronto. One of the little check boxes or tick boxes or something, I can't even remember how I missed this. But when we got here, what we realized was that they had a single entry visa, which meant that if they took a trip outside of Thailand during that 1 year that the visa was valid for, it would cancel the visa and the whole process would have had to start all over again. So that was a bit of a nightmare and something that you should avoid. Usually the option for a multiple entry visa costs a little bit more, but it's well worth it. I mean, you're living in Thailand, and one of the best things about moving over here is the proximity to amazing little short international trips. So definitely make sure that you get multiple re-entry when you're lining up your stuff here. Next, you're going to want to find a shipping company. This is number 2 on your checklist. And you're going to want to do a lot of research, because finding the right shipping company can make your life really easy, or it can make it very, very hard. Moving your shit over here is a pain in the ass at the best of times. And if you did it with a lackluster moving company that you just found at the last minute, then it would be horrendous. So I would say that you should definitely put this at number 2 on your checklist and do a bunch of research on this one. I've earmarked one to get you started. It's called myinternationalmovers.com. I will leave a link in the description below. When I make these videos, I'm going to leave you links to things I talk about, so just check the descriptions. In this video, there's going to end up being a lot of links, as you'll hear shortly as I continue through the list. But this video is not sponsored by My International Movers. I've never even used them. I just did some research for you to get the ball rolling and get you in the right headspace. You're going to have to pick up that ball and take it from here and continue researching and ask them a lot of questions. If they can't answer your questions, then keep looking and find someone who will. Some of these places probably don't have any experience dealing with moves into Thailand, and I'd recommend finding someone who definitely does. And on top of that, I would recommend finding someone who has a Thailand partner. The company that we ended up using, the way that it worked is we boxed everything up in LA, where we were living at the time and shipping our shit from. And then we actually had to hire a secondary moving company, because the deal I made with my international moving company was to get it to them at the port in LA. And so we hired a local LA company to take it from our house to the port. But this international moving company had a partner on the Thai end that was ready to receive the goods and walk me through the whole process of import taxes and clearances to get my shit out of the ports of Bangkok and over to my new condo here. So these are the types of questions that you should be thinking about. These are the types of questions you should be asking your potential moving company as you go through this research. And you should also make sure you get a couple of quotes. Prices are probably going to vary greatly, so get a couple of quotes based on your needs, where you're coming from, how much shit you're shipping, and take it from there. And the last piece of advice I'll give you is do some digging around for online reviews. That's the beauty of the world today. You can learn a lot about a company from checking out their online reviews. So check that out and just give yourself ample time to prepare for the move. Number 3 on your checklist is to arrange health insurance. And that's going to look different for everyone. It starts by understanding what your situation in your home country is. So for me, all I can tell you is my story. I'm Canadian. We have universal health care, government health care in Canada. And this is something that we knew that we had back home. So I didn't immediately take the leap for myself, my wife, and my daughter to get a full comprehensive package for our life in Thailand. Instead, my strategy was to move over here, use something called nomad insurance, which was perfect for us. But what that meant was that we wouldn't be covered for a lot of preventative stuff. So cancer, as a big example. You know, the potential to go in and find out I need to get a heart bypass, some big stuff that wouldn't be covered. The nomad insurance is more like a bit of a more medium to longer term travel insurance, where it covers you for unexpected, unforeseen medical emergencies. But our plan was, since we still had the Canadian health coverage back in Canada waiting for us, should we go in and, you know, worst case scenario, get a diagnosis of something bad like cancer or a heart problem, our plan was that we would have just gone back to Canada and dealt with it there. Now, that lasted for several years, probably longer than it should have. And just recently, I made a switch to think, you know what, if we did have these types of major preventative health problems, my wife and I are still going to want to take care of that here in Thailand because we've been exposed to the healthcare system here. And every single time we've used it, it's been absolutely mind-blowing how great it is. The service, the technology, the doctors, the care, the facilities, everything about it is world-class. So we've opted to now up our plan to something that is just a full comprehensive plan for our full-time permanent lives in Thailand. So for you, you got to just start by thinking about your situation. How serious are you about your move here? Is it permanent? Is it 12 months of the year? Is Thailand your new home? And are you cutting ties with your home country, including health insurance? These are questions that you should be asking yourself as you arrange your health insurance plan for your big move over here. And I'll leave you a link to the place that I use, and they actually have a pricing calculator. Actually, I'll leave you two links. I'll leave you the link for Nomad Insurance. You'll see in the description below, it'll say Nomad Insurance, and that's the one that I used when I first moved here. And I'll leave you a link for something called Nomad Health. That's the one that I've recently switched to. So you can check for yourself. They have a pricing calculator. Check out how much that would cost. Compare it to anywhere else that you're researching. Again, I encourage you to do a lot of research. I'm just trying to get you started. Next up, number 4, get vaccinations. Okay, this one's is a little weird. I've lost track of my vaccinations, what I have, what I don't have. But what I'll do is I'll just run through something I found online with some recommendations. Hepatitis A, typhoid fever, and Japanese encephalitis. Hepatitis is probably a shot that you have regardless. No matter where you're coming from, hepatitis A is probably something you're protected against. Typhoid, maybe the same thing. If not, I'd follow the recommendations and go in and check with your doctor. Maybe get your typhoid topped up. Japanese encephalitis is a mosquito-borne illness. And what you'll find with a lot of the mosquito-borne illnesses is that they might be a risk if you plan to live in a rural area of the Thai countryside. But if you're in one of the major centers, Bangkok, Phuket, Samui, Chiang Mai, Hua Hin, Pattaya, these places, I don't think it's a huge concern, but this is very obviously a personal choice of yours. Point being, number 4 on your list is vaccines, and I guess talk to your doctor. That's the best advice I could give, and just make sure it's on your checklist. Number 5 on your checklist is setting up a bank account. So up until this point, all of the things on our checklist are stuff that you have to do well before your moving date, things to prepare for your move. But setting up a bank account is something that you should at least be thinking about. It should be on your checklist, because I've met a lot of people who have just moved over here and then, encountered some sort of problems or heartache or grief as they urgently try and set up a bank account. Because let's face it, once you get here, you're going to need access to some of your money. So let me just run you through a summary of the whole process, a little bit of information on the various Thai banks, and one key rule that might sway your decision on what bank to go with. So when you do get here and you walk into a bank and want to set up an account, they're going to ask for a bunch of paperwork. So let me just run you through this list here. You got your passport. If you have a work permit, if you're on a work visa, they're going to want to see that, or a letter from your company stating that you're in the process of obtaining a work permit. They're going to definitely want to see your visa. This one's key. They're going to want a lease agreement for at least 1 year, or your ownership papers if you own real estate, or a leasehold agreement. And this is the one that surprises most people. How do you get a bank account with that? It can be a challenge. So just make sure that your financial plan gives yourself maybe a little bit more time after you move here to open up a bank account, because you might not land here with a 12-month lease in place, which is actually coming up in this list later. And as they say, tit. This is Thailand. And so these rules might vary a bit from bank to bank and even from branch to branch. One of the cool things that I think it's cool about living in Thailand is just, how this place, it feels more free. Part of that comes from the way rules are adhered to or sometimes changeable. And this is no different. I've heard a lot of people tell me stories about how they got declined at one branch of this bank, and then they went to a different branch in a different part of town and got approved. Other notes to consider in the Thai banking world is there's no IBAN in Thailand. So to make international transfers, you're going to need to provide a SWIFT code. In Thailand, bank cards, you're going to get debit cards when you open an account. Great at ATMs. There's ATMs everywhere. But people don't like swipe or tap to pay with debit cards a lot here. What happens here is you pay by scanning. You use your mobile phone and you have a banking app and you just scan. You could pay for a pack of gum at 7-Eleven by scanning. You can pay for almost anything just by using your phone. So once you do get your bank account set up over here, it's really, really handy. It's modern. And I find banking here amazing. The online portals are great. Everything about it's great. You can get a credit card, but you're most likely going to have to earmark a certain amount of money to match your credit limit. So for example, if you want a 50,000 baht limit credit card, you'll probably have to tell your bank to cordon off 50,000 and they put it in a special deposit account, and that's the only way you'll get approved for a credit card. It's not possible to open a Thai bank account online, so don't even think about that. You're going to have to walk into a branch and do it the old-fashioned way. And let me just run you through the most popular banks in Thailand. You have Bangkok Bank, Siam Commercial Bank, K-Bank, which is also known as Kasikorn, Krung Sri Bank, also known as the Bank of Ayodhya, Krung Thai Bank, and TMB Bank. That's just some of them. Take your pick, but one thing to think about is this new transfer limit. So about a year ago, things changed. You used to be able to transfer international money in up to 2 million Thai baht in a transfer. So if you move over here, you got all your savings back home, and every so often you want to make one lump sum payment so that you're not getting dinged with all these bank fees every month to just transfer month after month after month. Well, you used to be able to transfer up to 2 million baht, but about a year ago, this changed, and they put a limit where you can only transfer less than 50,000 baht. And this has just turned things into a pain in the ass for those people who were retired here or wanting to transfer in large sums of money to make purchases or just for living expenses. There are 3 banks that I believe are exempt from that: the Bangkok Bank, the Kasikorn Bank, and the Siam Commercial Bank, SCB. So if you have an account with any of those 3 banks, then I believe you can still transfer more than 50,000 baht. But if you're watching this and you know, comment below. I'm here to start the conversations. You guys are here to continue the conversations in the comments section and hopefully help each other out. And before I get to the 3 most common mistakes that people make in their checklist and their process of moving to Thailand, the last one on the list, number 6 on the checklist, is for those of you with pets out there. So, I mean, I could make a whole video on the topic of moving your pet to Thailand, and I will. I'm going to get to all kinds of specifics on this whole checklist, but it's going to take some time. This is just meant to be a little short summary of the checklist, but let's just talk pets for a second. So, depending on the kind of pet you have, you're going to need to get the pet vaccinated, whether it's a dog, whether it's a cat, whether it's a rabbit or something else. There's actually different vaccines needed for rabbits, believe it or not. So again, do your research, dig into that. You're going to want to find a company to probably help you with the relocation. There's one that I found called petrelocationthailand.com. I'll leave a link for that in the description below. There'll be like a grouping of links that reference things that I'm talking about in this video. I've never used them. If any of you have a suggestion and have actually moved a pet over here and have used a service, by all means, drop it in the comments. Let's help everyone out here. But usually the vaccines have to be done like at least 21 days before your moving date. So this is not something that you want to forget about until the last minute. That's why I've added it to number 6 on the checklist. But now let's get into the 3 most common mistakes people make in the process of moving to Thailand. Mistake number 1 is not having a proper packing strategy. And I guess this depends how much shit you're gonna bring, but let me just share with you the mistake I made. So when we were moving here, we started packing everything up. This was kind of happening in parallel to me researching and finding my moving companies, but I had left things a little last minute, so I'm scrambling on both ends. I'm scrambling to find a moving company. We're scrambling to get boxes, to decide what to pack, what not to pack. And we realized as we started going through our shit, we started saying, okay, let's make a few piles. Throw that out. This we definitely want. And this is a maybe. But rather than just pile up the stuff we definitely want, let's just box it up. We'll get ahead of the game. This is what Haley and I are saying to each other. We start doing that. A week goes by. We end up with 50 boxes, all taped up, ready to go, neatly packed. We're feeling good about ourselves. And then at the same time, I've closed a deal with my international moving company, made the arrangements for when they're going to pick it up. And then they said, we'll just send over our requirements to you and what our Thai partners are going to need for Thai customs clearances. And it was a detailed list of everything that's in each box. And I'm like, oh, shit. So the next week was spent feverishly unpacking boxes and making lists, itemizing things that were in them. Now, you don't need to itemize every last thing that's in a box. Like I had ones that I would mark photographs and books. You don't have to put 8 t-shirts and 2 pairs of underwear or this sort of thing. But we had lost track of what was in the boxes, so we had to go back, reopen them all, itemize them, create the list, and then repack them. So that's a mistake that you're going to want to avoid. And if I was you, I would start a digital document as you're packing that's called box number 1. Start to list the general contents as you put that box in. Box number 2, box number 3, if you are planning on bringing a bunch of stuff. Mistake number 2, and this is one that I mentioned earlier that you got to take seriously, and that is not organizing your documents. So there's going to be a lot of documents, as you've heard from the checklist. You're going to have visa documents. You might have pet documents, lots of them. Vaccine documents, airline tickets, hotel or Airbnb bookings, moving documents, pack lists, things for customs over here. You're going to end up with a whole bunch of documents. So what I would recommend to avoid this mistake is when you know you're going to move, I would say a good 2 months before your moving date, you should, first of all, write out a checklist. Secondly, prepare like a little binder where you're going to file all these documents. So you're going to have a to-do list, and then you're going to have a documents binder. And as you tick off your to-do list, the documents are going to be coming back in. And if you kept that all in one binder, believe me, your life is going to be way, way easier in what's a stressful and crappy process at the best of times. And mistake number 3 is not having a plan for where you're going to be living when you get here. You basically got 2 options. Your best option, if you can swing it, is to come over a month before your moving date and find your place. That's what Haley and I did. We wanted to move here. I think it was the first week of August. So we came over the first week of July to find a condo to rent. We came over, we gave ourselves 10 days. We spent 3 days, I think, with the agent who showed us 10 properties. We picked one, we signed a lease, and we were ready to go so that when we did move back here, we had our place, we were moving into our condo. The other beauty of that was we were also able to give our Thailand address to our international shipping company. So that was a huge, huge benefit of coming over a month before. You don't want to come over 2 months before. This was a mistake that we narrowly avoided. You know, in Canada, if you want to rent a place in early August, by the time it's July, all the good places are gone. But in Thailand, for the most part, your rentals, they're available kind of immediately. And if you want to shop around 2 months early, you're going to have more problems than solutions. So right about a month before your moving date is when you want to book a trip to come and find your place. Now, I get that a lot of you wouldn't be able to do that. Most people probably. So your second option is to book a place, either a hotel or what I would recommend is like an Airbnb, a short-term rental. If you're just coming over here with no long-term lease in place, then I would book a place for a month and then show up here. And once you get here, immediately go to work with an agent and secure a lease, because these Airbnbs, they're going to be costing you more money than your long-term lease. To do that, you're definitely going to want to have communication and ideally your agent lined up so that they're ready for you the week that you arrive, and you're not searching for an agent the first week, deciding on an agent the second week, and you're not looking for places till the third week. That's how your 1 month Airbnb rental turn into 2 or 3. So there's lots of good agents, and actually we had started, my nephew and I had started RW for You Real Estate to help you guys find places for rent here or to buy. We can only take so many people, but we have helped a lot of people find condo rentals in Bangkok. There's been people buy villas in Koh Samui from RW for You Real Estate, Chiang Mai, condos, villas. If you're getting ready for a big move and you are still looking for an agent, you can reach out to us, connect@retiredworkingforyou.com. Send us an email. I'll also put a link to our real estate page. You can learn more about that. The key is to just find someone that you trust, and that's what we're trying to do to help our community, is be someone you can trust. We're not just taking you to listings that we have with commissions that are better for us. The commissions get paid by the actual rent person who owns the unit or the seller. So our services cost you nothing. And like I said, we can only take on so many people. So if you do send an email, we'll reply no matter what, and we'll let you know if we have the ability to take you on, and then we'll just kind of hook you up with a good agent in whatever city or whatever island you're going to be choosing to live. And I hope that you guys are deciding that 2024 is going to be the year that you relocate to Thailand. Join me over here. We'll have a couple of beers. Maybe we'll put some ice cubes in them. But life over here is even better than I dreamed it would be. And like I said, the reason I started this channel is to help make you guys turn that dreams into reality. So hope this helped. Cheers, everyone. We'll see you soon.